The reason he needs, let's connect all the dots. The reason he needs to replace people on the Fed board so that he can have some more pressure as far as changing interest rates to make things look better than they actually are. As people lose jobs, inflation continues, tariffs destroy people's lives, companies fold, larger companies raise their prices, and then you pay more with less money coming in every time. The problem is he doesn't want more of these stories to come out and people go, whose fault is this?
Walmart warning this morning it's raising some prices because of tariffs. This comes with the company just releasing a new report about its outlook for the rest of the year.
Wolf, America's largest retailer, largest employer, and really a bellwether for the U.S. economy, posted strong sales growth in the second quarter, but definitely faced some headwinds from tariffs. And we saw that profits in the second quarter did not meet Wall Street's expectations. And that's actually why you see Walmart's stock down right now about 4.5%. Listen, tariffs was the big point of conversation on this 1 hour call with investors. A lot of questions about what price pressures were going to be trickling down to consumers. You had the CEO, Doug McMillon, of the company saying that so far tariff impacts have been gradual, so consumers haven't reacted so much to price hikes, but where they're now putting out post-tariff inventory, and they're going to see price level increases on a week-to-week basis. So that's obviously concerning for the company.
Price hikes on a week-to-week basis. So you may get 25-cent price hikes on something. The next week it might be back to another 10 cents. So then another 30 cents after that. It all depends. No one really knows. It's this thing that they keep talking about from those, brainy, boring people like Jerome Powell keeps saying. It's uncertainty. No one knows. But what they do know, it's heading in the wrong direction consistently. And people and companies, corporations, huge ones like Walmart are raising their prices, and they're going to be fine, by the way. They're raising their prices because, as you heard, Wall Street didn't expect this little of a profit from them. So they've got to do something about it. They're not losing. They just don't have enough profit. There's other industries that are suffering also under Donald Trump. I'm just going to give you guys another example.
More of America's family farms are going bankrupt. Researchers at the University of Arkansas finding that more than 250 farms filed for Chapter 12 bankruptcy between April 2024 and this March, marking a drastic increase in financial distress. According to the data, nearly 90 farms filed for bankruptcy in the first quarter of this year, almost double the number from the same quarter in 2024. Analysts are contributing the rise to a handful of factors, including inflation, higher interest rates, and labor shortages, which are being exacerbated by President Trump's mass deportation campaign.
So not only his policies as far as tariffs and trade policies that affect these farms that are now filing for bankruptcy at a rate that's double of what it was from a year ago, they also have their mass deportation issues. Those promises of getting rid of all of these violent illegal criminal aliens that is now swept up to 15-year-olds standing in front of their school in Los Angeles, or 60-year-old women on this at corners selling fresh fruit, things like that. Gardeners, people that work in some of these farms, which I will say it again, they're being exploited and we should pay them. But that would force corporations and rich people and a bunch of people with tons of money to pay what they should pay. It's this thing that neither party really ever wants to do. I want to remind you guys of this huge company. His name is John Deere. Donald Trump talked all the time about what he wanted to do with John Deere on the campaign trail. I'm going to get to that in a second. But we just talked about these farms filing for bankruptcy at high rates. There's something else that John Deere is doing in response to these tariffs as well, too. John Deere has been hit hard by President Trump's tariffs. Weird how tariffs keep coming up for negative news. The farm equipment manager and an industry bellwether just announced mass layoffs, affecting more than 200 workers at 3 Midwestern plants. The company is set to fire 115 employees at a facility in East Moline, Illinois, later this month. Next month, 52 workers at a facility in Moline, Illinois, again, not East part, and then 71 employees at a facility in Waterloo, Iowa, will also be terminated. John Deere is feeling the pain from Trump tariffs, that good old American company. There's more. As stated on the most recent earnings call, the struggling ag economy continues to impact orders for John Deere equipment. That's what the company said. They said this is a challenging time for many farmers, growers, and producers and directly impacts our business in the near term. So in that same earnings call, John Deere attributed a slowdown in quarter 3 sales to customer cautiousness and Trump's freewheeling tariff policy. You know, that thing that he kept saying wasn't going to affect any businesses, nor consumers, nor customers, nor anybody else except for the foreign people who send stuff in? The primary drivers for the change from last quarter are increased tariff rates in Europe, India, and steel and aluminum. That's what the company's director of investor relations said. Lastly, estimating that tariffs have already cost the company $300 million this year, he forecasted a full year tariff impact of nearly $600 million. I'm just wondering when the golden age is going to begin, because it's the end of August. We're going into the fall, and the golden age hasn't started yet. This is Donald Trump during the campaign trail. I remember I ran this when it was happening, and since we just talked about John Deere, um, let's have a little bit of a revisit to that moment.
They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened
they're
them with
also going to
tariffs
build.
and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here, and I'll keep them. John Deere will stay here.
I kept the jobs here. John Deere will stay here. I mean, except for those 200 employees just in that little region in the middle of the country that are getting laid off because John Deere can't afford. No, let me rephrase that. Not that they can't afford to pay them. They can't earn as much if they continue to pay these folks. So they're closing down certain aspects of their operations because of that same tariff threat that he said if he threatens John Deere for leaving and starting to have some manufacturing production in Mexico, he's going to tariff them 400%, and they'll stay. They stayed. Now jobs are being lost. And in response to that, he'll brag in your face about how he's stealing your money.
I was very happy that today, as you saw, the group that does this, a government group, radical left group, announced that Trump was right, took in $4 trillion worth of tariffs, that the $4 trillion are going to reduce the deficit by numbers far greater than they ever expected or heard of. And by the way, the stock market went up 1,000 points. That was as of 10 minutes ago. I can't tell you what happened. A lot of things happened. But the stock market's up almost 1,000 points. And it's basically on the news that the release that just came out from government that the tariffs that everybody was talking about, that the whole world respects us for because of what we did. The tariffs are going to be at $4 trillion. They're going to reduce the deficit by $4 trillion, Mr. Vice President.
Pretty good, sir.
Too bad it's not five, right?
That's right.
It's had a huge impact, and the stock market is way up.
So somebody should tell J.D. Vance he's got some shit on his tongue. He's, probably clean that off. So he's going to brag to the American citizens that he's taking in $400 trillion of your money. And it's going to go, what did he say it's going to go to? I don't know if you guys remember if he said it's going to go to the debt and deficit. The national debt eclipsed $37 trillion sooner than the pre-pandemic projections. The Congressional Budget Office's January 2020 projections had gross federal debt eclipsing $37 trillion after fiscal year 2030. But the debt grew faster than expected because of a multi-year COVID-19 pandemic starting in 2020, when Donald Trump was in office, that shut down much of the U.S. economy. That was all natural to happen with so many people and so many countries, where the federal government borrowed heavily under then President Trump and former President Joe Biden to stabilize the national economy and support a recovery. This is where then Donald Trump came in for his second term. And now, more government spending has been approved after Trump signed into law that Republican tax and spending legislation, that big, ugly bill, earlier this year. That law set to add $4.1 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. Isn't it weird? It's set to add $4.1 trillion to the national debt. He's bragging about bringing in $4 trillion, which he says he eventually will. $4 trillion in as far as tariffs from American companies and American consumers. It's almost like you're paying for all that money that's going to rich people. And you're losing your health care over it. And you're losing social safety nets over it. And you're losing your rights over it. And you're losing everything that your tax dollars are supposed to go to, infrastructure programs, because he thinks he can pull and give and take away money anytime he wants to. You're paying $4 trillion for him to give money away to more people and continue to control more power over your life.